Sleep Token made their return to live performances with a new look, a new set list, a new set itself this weekend at Rock im Park and Rock am Ring in Germany. So, what did we learn? Spider. You will have noticed I'm not using the gong on that anymore because I had a lady who put a comment on saying that she couldn't watch my YouTube videos on a TV anymore because that gong upset her dog. And frankly, I'm not in the business of upsetting dogs. My old man's sat lying there listening to me right now. Well, not listening to me. Couldn't give a fuck about Sleep Token. But I'm not in the business of upsetting dogs. So sorry I upset your dog. Won't happen again. So the set list for the 2 gigs in Germany over the weekend. Now, these were headlining festival slots, and there's something that I have to bring up straight away before we really start talking about this, is because I was a little bit bemused by some of these choices, amazed by some. We'll get into that in a moment. With any festival set, after you've recently released an album, obviously there is a modicum of promotion that is going into that. You want people in the tens of thousands of people in that field who've not heard you before to hear the most recent singles. So it's no real surprise to me that we got the live debuts of Emergence, Caramel and Damocles, and also Look to Windward opened the set, which I think now is a phenomenal set opener. You could argue that even an Arcadia would be even better, but one thing I want to mention is that these sets were 1 hour 30. They are listed to do 1 hour 45 at download, so one would expect they are either going to go back into their back catalogue like they did with Thread the Needle in 2025. Who saw that coming? So obviously the most recent singles were always going to be featured in that set, and Look to Windward with that Will You Halt There's Eclipse in Me as he whispers it, and then the kabuki drop. I did a video on TikTok, you can go and check it out, but that's what it's called when then the curtain comes down. It's a kabuki drop. I'm getting ahead of myself. So the set opened with Look to Windward, and then we got, as we did do on the Teeth of God tour, The Offering was the second track in there, but it kind of bounced around a little bit. Vor was, I think, unexpected, but a fantastic addition to the set. And then we got the live debut of Emergence. Now, there were little interludes in this set list, and I wanted to try and bring something to you today that was going to have like an artistic, theoretical concept of, the acts of this, but it's a festival. Songs like Alkaline and Hypnosis are incredible songs for that environment. And then we got Aqua Regia as well before we dovetailed into Rain and the first debut of Caramel. At this juncture, I'd like to apologise for using the term first debut like an absolute idiot. I promise I will try better in future. I don't think, in good conscience, that I can tell you that I can think of a narrative for this set list. I think partly A&R and record labels and licensing has been involved in this because they have to approve certain things. And I was delighted to see songs at the end of the set like The Love You Want or Higher. Higher is fucking incredible. But Thread the Needle as the penultimate song, the opening of the first EP1, the first single they ever released back in 2016. I did the video about the interviews around it the other day. So to finish the set with Take Me Back to Eden rather took me back a little bit. 16 songs in the whole set, an hour and a half. It didn't necessarily feel like a greatest hits set, but it doesn't feel like it's a narrative heavy set. And obviously a download next week, this might change, but when they go on tour in the US later on in the year, I am not expecting this to be the set list. And also in the interludes, I'm expecting more narrative. We are still at this point waiting for some kind of, confirmation on what The Battle Continues that they posted on Instagram recently really means. As far as the reaction to this set list, most people have been absolutely amazed, particularly long-term fans who are getting songs like in Thread the Needle, because who expected that? But I'm not sure if there is as much narrative when doing a festival set as there is when doing their own shows on their own tour. But anyway, we shall find out together. Spider. Now, RCA have obviously opened their checkbook for this because one of the issues that I've always had from a theatrical standpoint was that the set, the construction of the stage with which Sleep Token are telling their story, in my opinion, never quite matched the music itself. It sometimes could be a little bit overwhelming with what is essentially just a light show. And although the rig they've had and the lighting design has been phenomenal, that's felt like all it's been up till this point. So with the addition of this, what I can only describe as a grotto, actually, I'll be honest with you, it looks like, hang on, where did He-Man's Castle Grayskull. It looks like Castle Grayskull. Now, as many of you know, my partner, Lolly Kay, is a set designer. She's been building sets for theatrical shows, for TV shows all over the world. And obviously, we own the Puppet Workshop together. We're very much in that theatrical world where you build and you light around the words that you're saying or the songs that you're singing. And if, by the way, you are a young performer, be nice to your fucking technical team, because they can make that stage very quiet and very dark. Now, in Sleep Token's case, it's always been that actually there hasn't been a huge amount of light. There are no follow spots chasing Vessel around like they are Mariah Carey. But this set is full of texture. Vessel says in one of his very first interviews that music is about texture. There must be textures in music in order to tell the story you're trying to tell. And now with this set design, with I imagine, well, me and Lolly Kay both imagine that they're carved polystyrene, which has been sprayed in order to make it look weathered. And then they've accentuated the idea of nature always coming through with the pink flowers growing in between the cracks in the granite. Now, what this will be is, like I said, huge polystyrene blocks that are carved, painted, treated, and then there will be trussing, there will be staging that obviously is weight bearing because 2 is drumming on one of the platforms and the Aspera are singing on the others. But this is all attached to the trussing. It's quite lightweight, but it's designed to build texture. If you look at the lighting rigs, a lot of it is coming from the side and also uplighters as well. So it's really adding to the performance rather than it just being flat panel lights or chasers or whatever they're doing, or movers. But this now gives them somewhere to play with. And yes, they're all going to fall down the stairs. I'm sure everybody's seen 3's video where he nearly stacks it. But it's a new development, and actually, maybe to some people's criticisms of the band before, that they weren't going to survive on these big stages. I think with the addition of this set, it kind of changes the game, and there's some lovely little nuances in it as well. Obviously, we've got flowers coming out from between the granite. The waterfall was an inspired idea because waterfalls obviously bring up Arcadia. They bring up thoughts of paradise. When you see a waterfall, you think, gosh, isn't that lovely? When we've seen, whether it's art or whether it's videos of what people consider paradise to be, you imagine lush vegetation, nature, waterfalls. So the addition of the waterfall, and this is something that's been used in theatre. Bloody hell, the Take That musical had a functional thing where all the water came down at the end of the show. It rained on stage, for fuck's sake. So it's not impossible to do, but it looks fucking incredible, particularly when you put it in a festival stage. Unfortunately, Four, or as you affectionately refer to him as Ivy, the guitarist in Sleep Token, fell afoul at the first gig in Germany when the kabuki drops. The kabuki drop, it's called a kabuki drop when the curtains fall to reveal people on stage. I mean, the Foo Fighters have used it, Slipknot use it all the time. But one of the things that you normally have when it's your own gig is huge fucking fans either side of the stage. So as it gets dropped, the fans come on and they suck it in. So it doesn't need crew members there. Well, unfortunately, the crew members weren't quite as quick as they could have been at the first gig. And poor Ivy seemed to get tangled up for a couple of moments. It has to be said the second night that they were shit hot on it. So what is the new set telling us? Well, I guess it's telling us that A, Sleep Token have really raised their production values, and that may be partly due to RCA money. But it also gave Vessel a bit more of a stage to tell a story on. It isn't so much we're a band, we're doing a gig on a stage just like all the other bands. It was a little bit more, this is our stage with which to tell a story. And I can only imagine that they're going to embellish that more once they get, of course, to the US tour later on in the year. Spider. So, new masks and new outfits. Shout out to Hysteria Machine, who made the new masks that immediately made me think a little bit of Pirates in the Caribbean. The Kraken! I've not had a chance to look to see the Teeth of God graphic novel yet, but a lot of people have said to me that this uniformity is something that is prevalent in the novel. This idea that it is just one entity, and indeed Vessel is just the mouth of God, if you like. So there is now, on a lore level and both a theatrical level, a bit more of uniformity between the band. And I don't think that necessarily that's a bad thing for telling the story. Flowing robes, skull masks, and kind of shrouds over their mouths almost. It must be said that Vessel's outfit in particular is incredibly impressive, particularly with all of the feathers, the references to maybe the feathered host, or is indeed Vessel growing wings? Is this part of the ascension? Is there... I'm saying is there. Of course there's fucking lore meaning in everything they do. So although aesthetically they may not be my favourite masks, I think I understand the reason why they are bringing together a uniformity of the band. Laying down the flowers and picking up the sword has been somewhat of a prevalent theme in the album. So Vessel's green and gold, more regal-looking outfit, more regal-looking costume definitely suits that mindset. There are a few other things to touch on as well, even little things like, my God, do people like the huh? Whoop! Hearing the crowd go off for the last one on that, and Emergence was very, very good. There's also a few little musical differences that I noticed. I wouldn't really call them musical, more arrangement changes. The Aspera felt much more prominent, not only in the mix, by that I mean the front of house, the guy who was mixing it at the back there, the sounds that we're hearing, the microphones that are being boosted and which ones are being leveled off, but in the newer songs in particular, particularly in Emergence, where that kind of droning, go ahead and wrap your arms around me, which is very one note and it's very robotic on the record. The new songs with the addition of the backing vocals sounded incredible, and I don't think that's entirely by accident. With so many artists, as they start to embellish more their live shows, it changes the perspective when you go back into the studio as well. As you're writing songs, you start thinking about, okay, well, this is how I want it to sound on the record. This is the message that I want to say. This is the production I want. But in the back of your mind, as always, yeah, but when we're live, what can we add to it? How can we make this sound fucking epic live? Well, I would say mission accomplished, because all of the new songs have little additions of whether or not it's Four's screams. Sorry, Ivy, you lot are funny. That man, fuck me, does he have a cultured scream. That is a man who could be fronting a band on his own, and if he does, I don't want to fucking know about it. Just don't. I get it. I just don't. Some people do. I don't. Not for me. So with the addition of the harmonies in the new songs and this new lines for the Aspera, and now for the guitarist, his screams being used so well in Rain, fuck me. When he screams, rain down on me, I want to run through a fucking wall. So everywhere, from the set list to the set, to the costume design, to the addition of more embellishments in the music, Sleep Token are becoming a much bigger prospect. They did not look at all out of place on a festival stage. And with Download coming next week, and a lot of people being like, oh, they're going to get swallowed by Download. Are they? Fuck. I've been at the side of the main stage, bragging, and watch artists fall on their arse at Download on occasion. I don't have any concerns about that with Sleep Token. Obviously, there are people who just don't like Sleep Token, and that's fine. But I think the fascination and the buzz around Sleep Token at the moment is only going to be matched by what they create there. There is still one thing that's kind of, I don't know, not bothering me, but nobody seems to be talking about. The battle continues. We have no answer to what that means yet. But we did get a clue in Germany. During one of the interludes, this played on the big screen. know I'm a big proponent for possibly that the album is in the wrong order. If you start it even in Arcadia, it will end with the music box of Caramel. I thought I got better, but maybe I didn't. And even to me, that isn't a substantial ending to this album, but Infinite Baths is not either. Even in Arcadia, the song felt conspicuous by its absence at these festival dates, if I'm honest. Did rather feel that they would open with it. By the way, I'm not saying that Look to Windward is a bad opening. I think that should be the fucking opener, because that was impressive. But why are we approaching a house? And which house are we approaching? Is it House Viridian, who have the most followers now on Instagram, when we were told to choose our sides, to double down on who we wanted to be? House Viridian, the house must endure. The feathered host, the cycle must end. Vessel is becoming feathered. Jerry wasn't anywhere to be seen, by the way. Jerry's the flamingo, in case you don't know. Jerry was nowhere to be seen in Germany. I don't know, maybe he doesn't have a passport. But why in the interludes were we walking towards the door of a house in the style that we've had in all of the visualizer videos so far that Sleep Token have produced? The houses are still in play. The battle continues. So which house are we approaching? It was a very slow walk up to that front door. So we don't seem to be going to battle. This doesn't seem to be a fight. Is there some sort of reconciliation? Is this one house approaching another one? And also with the set ending, take me back to Eden. When a band that is so invested in lore as Sleep Token is, does something like that, even at a festival, and like I've said, it's a festival, there's other conditions, you want to advertise the band to a bunch more people, all of that. But there's got to be a reason, and there always has been in the past, why Sleep Token choose to use what media they do in the interludes of the songs. So why this approach to the house before Alkaline? I don't have an answer for you. I don't have an answer for you about the significance of the set list, if indeed there even is any. So there's a bunch of questions going into Download next week and then the US tour that is happening later on in the year. But what a treat. Sleep Token truly are the gift that keeps on giving. Obviously, the likes and shares and subscribes, I appreciate every one of them, but I'm never going to beg for it. You're a free-range human. Do what you want. And under the consideration that everybody has given me, this week I will be launching my Ko-fi page. I'm not going to do a Patreon. Have you seen those fucking fees? I know Patreon's a very popular platform, but trust me, that ain't doing anything for creators or indeed people subscribing. Trust me, I've looked into it. So there will be a chance for you personally to support me on this journey of analyzing and breaking down not just Sleep Token, but all of the other stuff I want to do. I'll give you more information about that in the next video. But the new era of Sleep Token, the even in Arcadia era of Sleep Token has begun, and we are all along for the journey. And on that note, I'll see you next time.